Hello, guys. It's Tin Man coming to you live from Canada, the Bigfoot Nation that hooks up to America, the other Bigfoot Nation. Hope everybody's doing well. And so, what I've decided is I'm going to turn off the chats so if you guys are talking, I'm not going to. All messages are visible right now. They are visible. Top chat. Hide all chat. Hide all the chat messages. There we go. But I believe you guys can chat amongst yourself. But the reason why I want to do that is I just want to try to focus in. I want to try to just, I'm getting more and more support. And I appreciate that. I'm getting more and more people that are recognizing that, claims and such are, they're starting to make sense. Like, let me do this. I don't know if you guys are going to be able to see this, but let me just show you something here. This silly tag. That's my air freshener. Manipulate this. That's a ridiculous horn. Anyways, so we see this foundation right there, right? You see that air freshener that's upsetting me? There we go. Sorry, guys. So you see that brick ledge where it sits on the foundation there. You see those couple of little remnants of some black caulking that they actually had it all the way along, as you'll see on this side over there. Whoops. Get to see it up there. You get to see more of it. Anyways, back to this corner. The reason why I'm showing this corner is, let's see if I can see it from here, and you guys should be able to see it. Let me get a pointer stick. Shut that, please. People are in the store, so that's not going to stop, probably. Anyways, in the foundation, pretty much right here, you're going to see a little bit of a circular break. It's not as big as I'm kind of strobing there, but I think it's close to it. And then you see see that black dot? And then right there, you see other cracking. The cracking is actually being worked from, like if I was using the knife to do that, I'd be coming in the right angle right now. It's not done from an angle coming straight in or something. Same with this circular. Well, I also talked about that caulking up there, didn't I? Well, if we were to go up where that stupid car is, up near the front over there, and we go up to the front, you see how there's another brick section there and stuff? Well, in that section of brick, you get to see a whole bunch of vertical cuts or cracking on that brick foundation. And that foundation has nothing to do with the tilt-up building that I'm pointing at. This is all tilt-up, and behind that foundation is actually tilt-up wall. So that foundation is somewhat structural, but it is in a way almost decorative too, because of the way that brick is done and also hung off of that wall. So the brick is double supported through the wall plus the foundation. Well, anyway, so you got that cracking that's going on down there. And you get to see that the black tar is gone from there, the caulking. And out in that front section there, oh, thank you. Because it makes me yell too. Anyways, out in that front section, I kid you not, close to around 1/4 inch breaks of cracking of the sidewalk. 1/4 inch wide and literally hundreds of feet of it, and I'm not exaggerating. I have felt kind of uncomfortable about bringing you guys that work yet, and I haven't videotaped it because you're really just showing your face to the public, and people are already probably going to be thinking, that weird Tin Man guy. I mean, some people say it on my channel. Imagine, what people may think that know about my channel around here. So, it's not easy to jump into that stuff. Hopefully your focus is working. But anyways, the point is hundreds of feet of that caulking that has been peeled off of that ledge there and filled in on that caulking out there. I even had one of my boys by here, and I walked him through it and sort of got him thinking about it a little bit and stuff. And you can tell, even with his pretty sharp young mind, he was quite confused because he knows you don't put a rubber compound down on sidewalk for any kind of grout or caulking or anything like that. And then he knows the foundation right there on that building is missing its caulking. And then that round circular crack that I did show you guys from this distance on the foundation there. Well, when I bring you this video, you're going to see around the corner there on the foundation a number of those round style cracks into it. And it is a chipping process, and it is something that isn't just kind of natural based, where this concrete is having some kind of very peculiar breakdown and is just coming with unnatural cracking. It's not happening. And those cracks that I talk about on that 3-foot foundation approximately, well, that foundation works around to the front of the storefront. That's actually a different car this time. Weird. Anyways, that cracking actually goes along the storefront, where it's just basically a base for the window frameage and so on and so forth. So, if you're saying, well, that brick is really heavy there, Tin Man, well, out in the front, I'll show you where it's not so heavy, and I will pull out the courage, and I will commit to bringing that for you guys here. Anyways, one of the biggest reasons why I'm going with what I decided to do with this video here was I'm going to try to just flow through my 3 years quickly, so you guys can so the people who are challengingly trying to think, where is this guy coming up with this information and such like that, it might give you a little bit better of a foundation to understand the amount of work that I've done and the amount of claims I have. And hopefully Jay shows up there. If Jay is on the chat there with you guys, he happens to be a person who's come over and walked with me and talked with me and stuff. And, he did it 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 times, 6, 7 times he came out here, something like that. And in all reality, all he had to do was come out the first time. He knows that. And with me and him hooking up together, it covered so many bases for him that he already had parts of knowledge in. And he, from that point, would have continued just, building on his picking up on it. But he decided to come out for a number of times and hang out, and so we got a number of really good talks about how these guys affect the trees, how they're affecting the rivers, how they're affecting the mountains, how they're affecting our foundations on our houses, how they're working on our bridges and breaking the foundations on there, how they're just working on the infrastructure of all of our stuff. Like this right here, this mill, guaranteed I could go around in this mill and I could pinpoint a number of issues that these guys are creating for later. I jump around on subjects so much, and I'm trying not to do that. So I'm going to go back to just sticking with 3 years ago, almost, in approximately August. I happened to go on some trail walking. In that day, in that couple of hours there, I stayed for a couple of hours because I started noticing a bunch of peculiar markings that didn't seem natural to me. They seemed like they've been made somehow. And a lot of these markings were foot pattern markings. And then they started to, in that same day, started to come into certain cut markings on the trees. And I was just noticing a few things that were a little excessive from trees that I had seen before. Well, I came back. I call that my 21 days with Bigfoot. And in that 21 days, I didn't come back every day, but I came back, probably at least 18 days, somewhere around there. On day 13th is when I had my first encounter where I have a video that's called First Face to Face Bigfoot Family 100% Your Money Back, whatever. I joke around with that there. And that was day 13th, and it's a real event. And if you get into my writings, my comments there, and any other good comments that are also trying, like I delete bad comments most of the time, especially on that video. Anyways, I'm just tired of people being negative when they don't know what they're talking about. Anyways, so that was day 13. Well, day 15th, I had another encounter, and that one, I believe the video is entitled Surrounded by Bigfoot, something like that. But that one there, I never gave 100% stamping because when I was there, I couldn't really grasp what was going on very well. So, but when I got home, I realized, that's, over watching it on the computer, I'm willing to say that, it was 100% encounter. And that one lasts quite a while. And there's lots of changing that goes on in that video. And that was day 15. Day 19, I have what did I call it? I call them, my baboon-headed Bigfoot experience. And this guy that's day 19th, and I stay with him. I get him on 2 different cameras, get him on a couple of different angles. I get movement out of both of his arms at 2 different times. He sits there with his right hand. He gives us his left profile the whole time, and he has his right hand on top of his head, kind of. I want to mention that mountain back there too. I hope you guys can pick it up. Good. Let me try it like that and see if it focuses up there well. Keep an eye on shadowing up there if you can, if you want to. It might be too fogged out, it looks like. But that hill there, they love it. They got caves in there and so on and so forth. But anyways, so yeah, on that day there, that guy really scared me because his head is huge. There's a couple of ferns there. I also comment on there where to watch. Ask me comments. If I don't get back to a video, like say you watch an old video of mine and I don't get back to giving you some commenting back to you or something, come forward to one of the newer ones and get me to tell me the name, and I'll go back there and I'll have the discussion with you and try to help you out if you need it. Anyway, so that was day 19th. Day 21, I'm pointing my camera. I take my camera kind of like this, and I point it to kind of a wall like that of bushes, really thick bushes. And I go, you guys see that back there? And also on that day, day 21, I just had a super awesome day with some tree discovery stuff going on there. Anyway, so I turned to those bushes back there, super thick, and I go, and I remember feeling it in my gut, and I just feel I'm quite intimidated by it. And I go, you guys, I'm going to have to try to figure out how to track those guys into there. Well, in my mind, I didn't really think I was going to be able to. It felt pretty uncomfortable saying it. It felt pretty uncomfortable believing it. Different things like that. Well, in the end, it was like a day or two later, I'm heading my way up there towards where this location is. Got kind of turned around. I went a different way, got kind of turned around, and decided to stop at another location. I seen some trails, so I go up the trails. Within about 2 hours hanging out there, I realized I did know their markings well enough, and enough different things that they do with the texturing of the ground and the changing of things around, that I am tracking them. So that was in about 22 days. And this second location was separated by a huge body of water and a huge dam system where there's a number of dams in there. So I wasn't comfortable thinking that they just commute back and forth every day or anything. So I was comfortable realizing that, okay, two clans this pretty close together, and those guys obviously must own that land that I was looking at. These guys own this land that I'm looking at. So I get to go through all that real early thinking of all that kind of stuff. Well, after just that day of realizing that they're there and that they don't necessarily live on the same plot day in and day out, I decided to go on a mountain tour where I'm pointing the camera is not far off from, or I mean, it's right in general area of where I went to those big mountains, and I checked out a couple of locations. Then I went that that away, and I went across the river, and I went to the big Sumas Mountain and stuff. Figured out where a big location of them are over there. A big clan is over there. Then I came over here, and then I was still out at that time. I was still living. I was at a house back in a valley, actually, way back up in there. It's pretty cool. And so I was starting to try to figure out signs around my house all the time then. And I knew in that area they weren't heavy at that time. I could see a whole bunch of different comparisons in the landscapes. Well, somewhere in 6 weeks, I ended up going to a campground. I seen that they were around the campground, that they had been making trails and stuff. I recall saying that I don't think they live here much, guys, but I think, it's obvious these are their trail system and so on and so forth. In part in that, I can say that very confidently. Hear that? This is a real common area where pigeons would be, so that's probably legitimately a pigeon. I'm going to say that's legitimately a pigeon, but their owl call that they do, that's almost a cross between some kind of a goofy owl and a pigeon, happens quite often. So listen in your areas. They'll mimic different sounds. They'll mimic different birds and stuff like that. Try to throw the one over on you. But anyway, so I went to that campground. I could see that they had been around there and stuff. So that made me very upset at that time. The next night, I decided to do a night walk. I went to that same area as the campground. I found a wet footprint, like somebody was tracking me. Later on, about 45 minutes, I came across somebody or somebodies that were growling and snapping bushes. Once again, this one here is up on video there, and it's I don't know. There's a nice short version of it where it's just over 2 minutes. It's going to be on my favorite liked videos or something like that. And there is a long version of it, but the short version's worth listening to. And yeah, you get to hear me in the dark talk to the dark, but something back in there that's growling, and you can pick up on it. That is breaking sticks, huffing and puffing, and yeah, I continue for somewhere around a minute 40, something like that, trying to break ground with him and just trying to kind of do a silly reasoning with him, see if he would stop or anything like that. By the end of it, I felt he was only getting more worked up and such. So I broke free and I told him I'd give him a space and I left. Ever since that day, I've never been growled at, and I've never been showing such an aggressive attitude again. But I've been around them tons of times and many, many times. And yeah, so you kind of get two different messages there if you really think about, growling, breaking sticks, trying to get rid of you, a guy talking back to them and it working out for whatever reason. And here I am 2.5 years later, still doing the thing, but messages worse than then even, because at that point there, I knew they were mucking around with a lot of different things, but I had no idea that they were breaking down the Fraser River dike system. That over on I ended up doing a tour out to Vancouver Island, and that's where I came across a super chaotic amount of knife cutting and axing and chopping and stuff at trees. You figure if anybody's going all the way to Tofino on Vancouver Island, which is a world-class kind of real hippie kind of cool hangout, you wouldn't think they're chopping on trees and stuff. But if you go there, man, you see in those campgrounds, and there's many of them, just ridiculous amount of marks. And that's when I started to be able to really pick up on the curvature within their claw system, which I had a good video today that I talked to some young guys about. I think I might have already uploaded that one. I might have already released it. And I show you guys where there's because a couple of boys come up. And I was, that was happened today anyways, and there's some curvature that I, attempt to film a little bit for you guys to show you guys. That's a 2 cutting system. For you to cut a piece of cake, if you had a square cake, totally square, 8x8 pan, you take it out of the pan, square cake, you cut it down the middle, you got 2 halves. But if you had a coved knife like this, like it just got a bend in it, let's call it, but it ends up making a coving. You stick it into that cake and you cut it in half again with this coving. One half of the cake is going to have a cove on it like that, where the cake is square here and coved here, and you got your piece. The other piece of cake is going to have its square side on this side, and it's going to be coved this way. So that's what I'm telling you, just to give you a really good idea. Like if you had an angular knife and you cut it down the middle of the cake and it had a little bend in it, that's what happens with the wood cuts. Everybody who walks around, where's that knife? I guess I could have been using this, right, as an example. So you take that, you put it in your cake, you cut your cake, you're going to have 2 pieces. But if this thing had a bend in it, you can imagine how when you're cutting down into your cake like that, how it'd leave that same warped bend in there. So that warped bend is the cove I'm referring to, and you can find them in trees, just like that tree right there. At times you can go up to that kind of a thing, and you'll see where you at first might just think it looks like somebody's just cut that tree. You might see a whole bunch of cuts. Start just looking at them, coming close. You might see where it looks like somebody's taken a chunk out of that tree, so you see a pretty big white thing there. Go over to that white thing and figure out what's created it. What they know we're fooled by is we just think it's a truck. We just think it's whatever smashes into the side of the building, takes out the posts in this guy's mill here. Yeah. The totem poles, how I've talked about totem poles quite a few times. How I've talked about tilt-up buildings that are made out of wooden structures and so on and so forth. Well, I have documented 100% now the one at our big heritage park, a great big awesome building. That's kind of a lean-to building in a way like these buildings. It's just a post building with all this big timber work in it. And I filmed it for everybody. And I went around because all the corners on it, like each post is carved to some degree. The corners on the end, on the 2 outside posts, are carved like just like really cool totem poles. These ones a little bit less carving. There's 8, 10 posts, something like that. I'm not too sure. They all started getting lots of cracks in there. Then those cracks started getting bigger and bigger. Sure, the building's, 10 years old or something, but this is all becoming worse. And I'm a lucky guy that in 3 years I figured that out. But anyways, when you look up into the timber, up into the rafter of this building, which is very high, it's a 2-tiered roof, so it's got another roof that's up here, and you can, if you were standing here, you could see under that roof. So when you go inside the building, you look up, you get to look through this part of the roof. And then you get to look through the middle section and see way up there, and you get to see all those rafter big beams and stuff. Well, when I filmed it for you last time, guess what? They were hardly cracked. The other day I was there, they're not butchered like the totem pole ones yet, but they are becoming severely cracked. And that building will be destroyed, and in 10 years or whatever, we're going to be tearing it down and building a new one or whatever and stuff. And all this asphalt here, we're going to be replacing it too soon. All this building and stuff, we're going to have to reconstruct a bunch of that stuff. We're going to have to break out all the sidewalk around here. We're going to have to road building around in your guys' area. Just open your eyes, and in where these guys are aggressive, you'll realize in your areas the amount of asphalt breaking is just bizarre. And guess what I did recently? I got down on my hands and knees on a in particular road, and that's the first time they gave me this language. They gave me a language of asphalt being cut with something as sharp as this, like me, and I wouldn't be able to do it. But if it was a super hot day, maybe I would be able to do a little bit. But I tell you one thing, because of how asphalt works, if I would have stabbed this in on a really hot day where the asphalt is hot, and I go and I cut it along that asphalt, it's not going to cut as nice as what those guys did. And I believe the nice, clean, sharp edge cut that they left in a number of spots that I've seen. And I didn't go look at it much. It was hundreds and hundreds of feet. I kid you not. But that cut in there, in that asphalt, made this guy super happy. And that's because I know the cut different than you. And I tell you guys about cracking of the asphalt all the time in a very large amount of it. But there, I now have on video evidence. See, you guys don't get all necessarily my happiness. I know someday I'm going to be sitting at a board table or something, and we're going to be sitting around and we're going to be bringing up different videos for quick views, for long views, for intensive views, for blah, blah, blah. And I know that I compiled a huge pile for that anybody with a mind like us who are trying to really connect and are connecting to some degree, any of us that sat down at this board table with me and the stuff that I have, there's no guessing. There's no I think you guys can figure something out. There's no I hope you guys see it or anything like that. With all you guys up at that level and beyond going into the good science-minded people, because that's what we need. I don't want to hook up with somebody who wants to walk around in circles with me in the Bigfoot world. I'm kind of tired of doing that in some respects, really. It doesn't mean I will give up on doing it. I will just change my format. But what I actually want to do is I truly want to sit down with the university-leveled, science-minded people who want to figure out what's going on with the trees. How are they living these days? How are the water directions doing? How are the tides? How are the levels of the heights of water in different areas? How are the forests out there in California? How are some of those trees being blown apart? By all of a sudden they, in some cases I heard that they even caught them on film where, you might be filming a tree just like that and the fire's back there and everybody's looking at the fire. All of a sudden this tree for some reason just blew apart like that and it falls down and it's on fire. There's claims of that kind of stuff. And guess what? Well, I have claims from almost 3 years ago on those August and September walks in there on my very first times where I'm going, guys, there's a heat involved here. These guys know how to use a heat somehow. And then 3 years later or 2 years later, there's forest fires where trees are kind of blowing up, almost like, well, I wonder if somebody could come to that and put a heat penetration there that was all the right elements, where it's almost like it's creating some kind of a compressed fire within the actual center of the tree, and it just builds and it builds and it builds, and you do that and that will last for 3 days. And then you go over to those trees and those ones last for around 3 days, those ones for this and that. and they start just whatever, creating fires, doing very peculiar things. You know, I personally can totally look at that as real information that I want to know the answer for someday. I know I can go up to this. You guys want to try it? See if we can walk up to this wall and see some of these cracks? Let's do it. Gonna take a drink. I'm gonna turn off my chats. How do I do that? Right here. Turn it back up. Oops, wrong one. Live chat, so I can see. There we go. Vancouver Island's in the house. Cool. The Myth Hunter, nice. What is that? Kasser? Daily vlogs? Nice, a daily vlogger. Really cool. Are you a Bigfoot daily vlogger? Sorry. Hey, Brown Dwarf, how's it going, brother? Hey, Rob. Rob from the Toy Collecting. Good to see you. This is Painful. Somebody's into the pain. There, it looks like I've gotten everybody there. So cool. What I'm going to do right now is I'm going to see if we can walk to the building. And we can actually talk. So I'm bringing us right into that spot that I'm talking about. So I'm talking about this too. Here, I'm going to back us up. How do we do this? There we go. I'm even talking about these kind of cracks, guys. But the impressive thing about this crack is there's two different heights. Okay, so that does make you think about compaction. So just keep that in mind. But another thing about it, we are talking about a being that might be able to do his crack thing, and when he wants to make sure it's going all the way through the concrete, he might be able to just do with some stamps. Maybe there just happened to be an air pocket in this corner, and gets to take advantage of it, okay? But more so, I'm talking about this thing. You see how the crack's going all the way around? Do you hear circular motion? Look at this one. But, it's even on the top. Didn't really realize that, so I wonder if they've added to it. But you see how that, I could probably peel this stuff out in a way. Where do we got you in there? I just want to see that close like that. Okay. Here's the tar stuff that I talk about. The rubber compound that has been peeled off the building. You can see the oil base in it coming out onto my finger. Because that's going to be its water resisting water is going to be in the oil in the compound on that one. So as we're coming up here, this is tilt-up building. This is a cement wall that was poured on the ground, and then they stand the building up. Do I believe this is them? I'm going to keep watching it, because I tell you right now, I think they will at least continue to make that worse. Can they crack through this paint without like different evidence going on? See these scuffs on the wall? This is not a loading bay. I park here all the time. You see the roadway here? Although it looks like rust. Nobody runs carts on here. Nobody does that stuff. I hang out here all the time. This has come. This is a new thing that's come. Okay, now, so here we are into the foundation. This side doesn't have very many of the cracking, but it does. So here it is, and look at it. It's coming right from the brick there, all the way. This one goes all the way down, and then they've done an extra breaking out here. Looks like they trailed this way, trailed that way. Look at these two cracks, how they didn't even make them line up. This one's here, and this one's here. More. And remember, I don't know if you guys are into a lot of the stuff that I've pointed out, but I've talked about them with the grout. Oh, nice. The sun's here. So look at right there. Hopefully you guys can see it all right. And remember I was talking about the rubber compound. See the front of the building here? Yeah, watch this. See, the rubber compound isn't even pushed down all the way. Like there's a space down there. So it's not like a grout. So you guys know, like my finger sponges on it. Oh, there we go. We can show you moving it and stuff. Hey, is that white caulking under there? Maybe somebody did fill it. So maybe it's not coming from the building. But I would say that's their cracking. I got to talk to the maintenance guy about this. It's just that I hate approaching him because I've already approached him on a lot of things and it's pretty bizarre. So that's pretty weird if they're putting this kind of caulking on there though. But maybe they thought that water would keep water from getting in there. Anyway, so you can see the cracks here. It's lessened here. Here's one that looks like they've done their grout playing around thing right along with it. Getting ready to take out this whole corner. More right there. I'm in my bare feet. But anyways, look right here. Are they trying to tell us, because it's right here on a window post, there's no bearing here, not at all. Well, this stuff will have the weight of the window in there. This thing will be the weight of itself. That's all it is the weight of itself. And then we got another one right here. Minimally, this trips out concrete placing, guys. Minimally, that would do that, where they're going to be realizing, yeah, concrete doesn't really act like that. Like, that's, I mean, look at the condition of it. Look at the age of the building. I mean, what are we at? Probably a 15-year-old building or something. So bizarre, guys. And crazy that I have to even talk about these kind of things. But they're doing it. Let me show you something else. Remember, I've been telling you I've been parking here, right? So I actually watch a lot of this stuff, and I watch them increase. They take advantage of spots where they think that, I mean, see even those grind marks? Is all of it 100%? Is all of it a car didn't chip that, or a truck didn't chip that and stuff? Yeah, of course those things are doing it too. But I'm telling you about the new, and the new has a picture in it. It has a description in it. You know, grind marks are grinding out a certain amount of color, and they tell us stuff. So this is them. So this one right here might not even gone down into crack mode yet. It might still be even where they're just chiseling at it. Looks like they might have put something in here. Yeah, it looks like they're just chiseling at this still. It's not even a crack. It's only a valley. A little bit more here. And they'll be up on that mountain up there watching. Let's see if we can get a good view that way. If I flip this camera around, I wonder if it messes with you guys. I'd probably be shaking too much. But you can imagine, you see where I am. We're in one huge valley out here where there's just eons and eons of life, places to go. I've watched these trees, all these tops be replaced, you guys. You know, I've inspected a number of these trees where I walk up to them. Which one will I pick? I'm going to go to that third. No, I don't want to go too far from the building. So you see this. We think, oh, cool design and stuff. I think this might be supposed to be solid. That's what I think. If you got right into it and you started to go in through all of these and stuff, a tree isn't going to be so weird where he grows in a way where he stretches himself in a way to expose his raw, unprotected wood under there. It's the same with us. We don't grow so fast that we're making things expose. So when you, so this is all part of the hopefulness of them. See, this thing is only actually growing from right at this point here. It's not growing from a core from way back in there in the center of the tree and growing all the way out. Trees have a natural thing in them where they are like a chicken has eggs, a tree has a gene understanding of branches, and that's why they want to core them. They don't want them to be broken off and being regrown here. Do they do it? Do they do it all by themselves? Coming in here and just butchering the things up, and they're bleeding away here. Hey, this is the same tree. Yeah, so look at, see the branches there and the branches here? Same tree. The testimony in this tree bark design right here is not the same one in that one. There's certain things that we can get. We can see the heavy amount of bleeding when it happens, where the branches were. You see this part right here? When a core branch comes from a core, its strength is shear strength this way, straight up and down, is super strong. When it's a sucker branch, they're not. So when you see lots of buildup sometimes on branches like this, different trees, you might see different patterns. Like a lot of the trees have a big buildup on the underside right here, on the sucker one. So when that branch actually breaks and falls off, it pulls a great big chunk of the tree out. Well, that was a sucker branch. That's why that's happening. Like when you, if you were really able to break that off, it's just going to break off. It's not going to pull a bunch of the skin off with it and stuff. It might pull a little of the skin all around there until it detaches. But it's not part of the thickness of the tree, isn't supposed to be in the branch. They are the ones who are doing that branch one, and they understand that one. I point that out because the life of a tree, or all our trees in sucker system mode, who knows, it could be different than natural coring tree modes, but I don't know much about that kind of stuff. Let's see if we can go get that. Yeah, like, why is he in there? Yeah, I'm seeing some birds, but that's a crow. Maybe it's a nesting one. It's probably a mother. Probably a nest here somewhere, eh? Alrighty, guys, let me go through and look at messages and see what's going on with the crew. See this paint? See these chunks? Notice piles of this stuff around your, when you're crossing your crosswalks and stuff. We're just going to be going back to a thin paint like that instead of that thick stuff. Because that thick stuff, they can break away. That's what's going on with a lot of that. Getting all chipped away is because it's, yeah, it is what it is. Thanks for hanging out, guys. Good to see people still around. There we go. Jay going on. It's called pattern recalculation. Oh, yeah, okay. Recognition. I see. Okay. We recognize the same familiar patterns that are similar to the signs and structures working that we see all over in the forest. They were there so prevalent, or where they are so prevalent. Yes. Yeah. So Bigfoot's a crackhead. Yeah, I guess in a way, eh? It's not seismic activity. I'm pretty familiar with seismic activity and stuff. You know, our big bridge here in Mission, we've done seismic upgrading to it. I don't know how many times, but in the last number of years, too many times. Too many times where it makes you wonder why they're doing so many seismic upgrades. You do a seismic upgrade where you put a whack of money into something, a building, a bridge or whatever, and you're good for a number of good years. Well, that one over there, I get it, that there was different seismic contracts. Like there's the seismic contract on the electrical. Then there's the seismic contract on the actual structure of the bridge. And then there might be another seismic contract on something else, or, 2 or 3 things, right? But at the end of the day, their upkeep on this big bridge that has a lot of traffic, it makes me concerned, wondering what's going on. Stone tools, no. Of course they'll use stones for this and that. Different times I see stones laying around and you look at it and it looks like it has gouging on it because they were just scratching on the concrete and stuff. But I don't know Vancouver Bigfoot there, but there's got to be. I don't know. I always just come back to somehow they're able to do it with their claws, all the cutting and breaking, and the myth Hunter is saying. So what he's saying is the Sasquatch are coming into our communities and are purposely damaging buildings and infrastructure. Yes, well, that's quite scary. I wonder if this has been found anywhere else. It has been found different places. Within my own area here, I've gone hundreds and thousands of miles. I'm in BC here. I went out to Vancouver Island, had an opportunity to be able to do it. So I went over there, and even on our parliament buildings. So for our province here, British Columbia, we got our big fancy parliament buildings over there. And, it's 100-year-old plus building, 150-year-old plus building or whatever. It's made all out of stone and stuff. I have that on videotaping, showing people kind of a spackling type way. Like I figured, say you got 5 claws, spackling with your hand, you're just kind of on lots of the stone there, and different things were going on for sure. And yeah, and plus, I don't have a problem saying that in lots of people's stuff, I see their stuff much different than them, like their videos, when people are just, you can be walking around a city. You don't have to be doing something with Bigfoot, but you're walking around the city and I'm watching your show. And I'm maybe listening to you, getting whatever kind of entertainment, but at the same time, I'm looking at all the different effects around on different parts of the world. And yeah, once you connect with realizing how involved they are with the trees, then your mind really starts to open, because you realize it's big numbers. It's big numbers. And I've driven around in our valley and stuff and pointed out how our tree lines, my memories of the tree lines used to flow compared to how choppy they are now and stuff. I've talked about that a number of times, and other people even pick up on it. From this far of a distance, it looks real nice and flowy. Well, even back in the day, you could drive real close to the mountain and they would look pretty nice and flowy. Well, now, because of this weird growth stuff they do that we talk about and I talk about, and replacing tops of trees and getting more juice coming and making that top is from the suckerism instead of the corism. And yeah. Kassar is saying, love my channel, thank you. Where is the Bigfoot? This is the Bloody City. Where is the Bigfoot? Yeah. Oh my god, that's annoying. Who is so annoying? What did I have going on there that was annoying, Rob? Anyways, my friends, I think it's time for this old man to cruise. Thanks for the support. Thanks for all the thumbs up. Thanks for watching. Tin Man. I set this in my back window to advertise to the locals now. Let them know I'm the crazy tracker guy. And all the other researchers are all crazy other kind of researchers. Thanks for coming. Peace out. Have a good night, everyone.